Part 7, Segment 1. Watch Segment 2. Too long to put all on one segment. Bye. Here's an article on, to give you an idea, it's from 2003, it's on the old side, but to give you an idea of the output of these biofacilities. And if you scan down to here, because there are currently, this is old information, but there are currently 300 therapeutic proteins in the biopharmaceutical industry development pipeline. And Serono, Swiss biological company Serono, typically produces just 400 grams of recombinant multiple sclerosis drug, Rebif. 400 grams. Well, there are 453 grams in a pound, so yearly production wasn't even a pound. And if you can read down there a little further, it says, but Serono needs up to produce several kilograms per year of its next generation therapeutic proteins. Moreover, the companies are moving into new types of therapeutic proteins such as antibodies, which are only effective in high dosage. Instead of micrograms, each patient will need dosage in the order of grams. Now they'll need grams, and like I said, that plant was producing 1 gram a day. So all of that production cost to basically back then treat 1 person a day. And consequently, because they needed to up production has to be scaled up by a factor of 1,000. Means they got to put out 1,000 times more than they were putting out. And by the way, this plant cost Serono $200 million to build. It was what would be on the smaller side now, and they have made some production updates that allow them to put out a little more, but they're not putting out a lot. Now here's a chart that shows what was and is in the production pipeline. See a couple of charts from 2004 and 2006. But by far, what's in the pipeline is monoclonal antibodies. You could see in 2004 it was a little less than vaccines, 76 to 90. But now, not even now, this is 2009 of course, 2006, the monoclonal antibodies in the pipeline were up to 160. So most of what is in the approval process is these biologics. And they cost on an average of 72 times more than regular pharmaceuticals. So they're going to need a lot more production facilities. Here's another article. Do they have enough production facilities? Well, as I told you last time, they really haven't started any new ones since the beginning of 2007, 2 years ago. And if most of the drugs in the approval pipeline are biologics, then it would seem that they would be building more plants, but they basically have stopped. Now if you look at this is the most recent one that I could find, where Pfizer builds a plant, creates jobs in Ireland as of May 2nd, 2008. But if you read it, it was going to cost $297 million, almost $300 million for a plant, creating 100 jobs. The plant will manufacture small amounts of biologic treatments for use in phase 2 and 3 cancer and diabetes clinical trials. So basically they built a $1/3 billion plant to only put out enough drugs for clinical trials, not even production. Now, if they just need the drugs for clinical trials, why couldn't they use excess capacity in other plants somewhere, other biomanufacturing plants? Probably because there isn't any. So they're spending $300 million on a plant just for clinical trials, for, the patients and that, not even what they would need for when they would have to produce it. So there's a disconnect here. They're not building really new plants. There are some in production, but they haven't announced any new ones in 2 years. But most of what's in the pipeline, up to 2/3 to 3/4, are biologics. So how are they going to be produced? And here's another article. Even if they are produced, who can pay for them? It's an article about Amgen. Last year, Amgen sales of, this is an old article, it says 3.2 billion. Actually, it's up over 7.4 billion, a tremendous jump. So basically from 3.2 to 7.4 is over doubled. So they would have to produce at least double the amount, or they're just charging more and more. And if you can read that, for some patients though, price has been a barrier. We have people where we literally can't find a way for an insurance company or a government source to help them. That's a tough situation. We do the best we can with the older drugs to make do, and they live with them. That's the way it's done. They can make these drugs, but people aren't going to be able to afford them, it looks like. And this article is from Biotechnology from a few years ago. If you read the highlighted part, while biopharmaceuticals produced in bacteria or mammalian cell culture bioreactor facilities have proven to be very effective therapeutic agents, they are also among the most expensive drugs produced. And there is doubt that the current pricing models are sustainable regardless of these agents' efficacy. So hey, they could put out the greatest drug, but by the way they have to be made and the cost of it, hey, the good news, you can be cured. Bad news is you can't afford the cure. Not only you can't afford it, but your health plan can't afford it, and your government can't afford it. So, the synopsis of what we've learned. To build a plant, it's going to cost you over $1 billion. It's going to cost, number 2, 5 to 7 years to get that plant going. Number 3, you have to hire hundreds of PhDs just to be plant workers. Number 4, that's if you can find qualified candidates. There's quite a shortage of qualified candidates to be those workers. Number 5, massive H2O usage, water usage, and the treatment of such water. And also air pollution treatment. Number 6, the discharge of the water of biologics into rivers. Hopefully that's not happening in the United States. It's definitely happening, as you've seen, in India. Number 7, massive outlays for minimum output. As I said earlier, Serrano built a $200 million plant, and they needed all of that for it, and their output was less than a pound of saleable product. In this industry, there's nothing fast, cheap, or easy currently about making biopharmaceuticals. And with 3 times more biopharmaceuticals than pharmaceuticals in the pipeline, it's only going to get harder, longer, and far more expensive in the future. Doesn't look too promising. And number 8, I'm going to talk about the cost of some medications that are well over $100,000 and the hardship people face in trying to pay for them. Talk to you next time. Bye.